There will be no Christmas shutdown for the federal government. The House and the Senate short time ago approved a bill late this afternoon to fund the government through January 19th, with a few sweeteners for the military and child health care. President Trump expected to sign the bill sometime tomorrow. Joining me now to talk about that and the tax cuts, Republican Congressman Keith Rothfus, who sits on the House Financial Services Committee. Congressman, good to see you.
Good to see you.
There have been more than 30 continuing resolutions over the last decade. I think it's about 5 per year to keep the government running. This one only lasts for, 30 days. I mean, it's kind of like popping a Rolaids. You know, it's good for a couple of hours, and then you're suffering indigestion. Doesn't something need to be done longer than 30 days?
Absolutely. This has been a very frustrating process. You know, I've looked at this issue since before I ran to Congress. I think the last time everything was done on time was 1996, where all appropriations bills were passed by September 30th. You know, this year, the House actually did the work by September 30th. Unfortunately, the Senate did not. It's stuck in the Senate. This has been a very serious issue for our defense budget, making sure that our defense planners have the resources. We have people out in the field. I made a trip to the Middle East right before Thanksgiving. This is a very serious situation. It's very frustrating to see Democrats holding the defense budget hostage, demanding more spending, dollar for dollar, or whatever their formula is. There's no correlation at all between maintaining a robust defense and what we're spending on the domestic side.
Right, because
that link has to be broken.
You have to plan well in advance, and if you're only working on 30-day increments, you can't possibly do that. And so our military and our defense of Americans out there, suffers. I do want to ask you about the tax cuts. Democrats continue to decry this, but Republicans say 80% of Americans will see tax relief. And, of course, Congressman, we've already seen a bunch of major companies start cutting checks, $1,000 checks to send out to their workers as bonuses because of this. Doesn't that undermine the Democrats' claim?
That's the sound of an economy revving up. You know, we've been stuck going sideways for 10, 15 years. Think about the kids who graduated from college in the early 2000s who have never really seen a healthy, robust economy. We have a great opportunity with the tax reform and tax cut package we just put out, and there is direct and immediate help coming for the middle class. A single mom making $41,000 a year is going to see more than $1,300 back a year. The family of four making $73,000 is going to see more than $2,000 coming back. And then you have the economic growth that's going to kick in. And we're already seeing that when you see companies willing to make substantial investments in infrastructure that we saw from Comcast and AT&T yesterday, $1,000 going to employees. This is great news, and it's the beginning of making this country prosperous again.
I think it was John Kennedy who said a rising tide lifts all boats. And that's the whole point of this, that if you grow GDP, it expands the economy. Businesses come back to the U.S. They began to invest in their own companies, expanding those companies, raising wages, hiring more employees, and the economy becomes far more robust. And in the long run, isn't it true that the Treasury benefits as well with increased revenue?
It's absolutely true. It happened in the 1960s. It happened in the 1980s. It actually happened in the 1990s under President Clinton and the Republican Congress. Remember when President Clinton promised a middle-class tax cut in the 1992 campaign, and he got to Washington and said he couldn't do it? Well, when Newt Gingrich came to town in 1994, they actually did that middle-class tax cut. They cut capital gains, and the revenues to the Treasury went significantly up and into surplus. The rising tide does lift all boats, and that's what this tax bill is all about.
All right. Congressman Keith Rothfus, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, and Merry Christmas.
All right, you too.